right, Nick. Round 1, very early, pick number 3. Houston Texans, who have a bundle of picks this draft, are now on the clock. Who are they eyeing at the number 3 overall pick?
So the best pick here for Houston is pretty clear. It's Ikem Ekwonu, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that close enough for him there. He is the offensive lineman out of NC State. This dude is the best run blocking prospect in years. He demolishes people, both at the point of attack, so that's one-on-one base blocking, or it's in space, whether he's pulling, reach blocking, or cutting off defenders. He makes blocks that I just don't see made at the big-time college level, and he dominates people. He absolutely rolls over people. He looks like Quentin Nelson, but a better athlete. This dude has all the physical tools. He looks so good that even though he played left tackle in college, there's some people that want to move him to guard in the NFL because they think he's a day one All-Pro. I think Houston gets him here and they get a great tackle, kind of an attitude guy to pair opposite of Laramie Tunsil on that offensive line and just really establish an attitude on offense because Houston wants to run the football. They were really poor at running the ball last year. They want to run the ball, give Davis Mills some help, and Ekwonu can both obviously run block. He can pass protect good enough as well. I think it fits exactly what Houston needs here at number 3.
All right, Nick, reading over some draft profiles about Ekwonu, some of his strength. He's physical, like you said, aggressive. He finishes through his blocks. He's constantly making his second and third blocks blocks in the second and third level down the field. His weakness, he's too aggressive. He maybe he over pursues sometimes. So I mean, he's a perfect road grader mauler athlete who probably can pull well. All kinds of great praises for Ekwonu. So I think this is an excellent future-proof foundational piece for the Houston Texans. So I really think this is a great selection they have here. What about their next pick?
All right, so they have 2 first-round picks, and here they stay on the lines. They went offensive line with their first and for their second first-round pick. I love them going George Karlaftis, edge defender out of Purdue. This is a guy who provides as much attitude, effort, motor, and physical toughness as J.J. Watt did. This guy is a road grader. He is the NFL's Greek freak. You hear about the Greek freak in the NBA. Karlaftis was born and raised in Greece before coming over to the United States. This guy plays with unadulterated power, unadulterated strength out of Purdue, demolished offensive lineman, high-level motor. And when I loved watching him play in college, he didn't just make tackles and make big plays. He physically wanted to punish the ball carrier. He would throw him to the ground. He was all energy and excitement. Reminded me so much of, I don't want to make the comparisons too much of a J.J. Watt, but he really kind of fits that mold. And Houston's missed Watt since he left Arizona last year. Karlaftis can come in and just fill that role right away and bring an attitude to that defensive line.
Absolutely. And if he's anything like Giannis or J.J. Watt, Houston's in for a treat here. Going back-to-back key foundational future-proof pieces for their team is really going to help set the new culture for the team. Lovie Smith, everyone around the ball for Houston is going to love a player like Karlaftis, I believe.
Yep. All right, moving into the second round. Early in the second round, they pick linebacker Chad Muma out of Wyoming. Now, this is a guy you probably haven't heard a whole lot about, except that he led the FBS NCAA in tackles last season. But where Muma is a perfect fit is his coverage skills. He's a great athlete and can drop exceptionally well into zone coverage. Why this is such a good fit for Houston is because Lovie Smith is a big believer in the cover 2 defense that requires their middle linebacker to have to drop and get depth very, very quickly and do it all the time. And Muma has that athletic ability. He did it in college. You talk about flying the football and what Lovie Smith loves. This guy was a tackling machine, all motor, just like Karlaftis, get to the ball, plus his coverage ability. It's an ideal fit for Houston here.
And if this pick is going to be like any other high caliber recruits that Wyoming has produced in the last couple of years, the only one I can think of is Josh Allen. So, if this has anything to go to show, if Wyoming has an NFL ready player, you probably want to jump on him early because teams are going to maybe look over him, but you have a bona fide superstar if you can develop them properly. So I think, a guy who has high production, leading tackler in the FBS, you got to look at those stats. We got to keep looking at the on-the-field play. How's the production? Well, the production seems great. So it seems like it'll translate very well into the NFL. I love this pick here. But moving on to our next pick.
Yeah, so you're talking about production leads right into their second pick in the second round. I'm sorry, their first pick in the third round. wide receiver Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. Tolbert has all the physical tools. He's 6'2", about 200, runs a 4.4, great athlete, but he was also among the leaders in FBS and receiving yards and touchdowns. He had over 1,000 yards over the last 2 seasons each year. This guy was extremely productive, big play receiver, will fit exactly in what Houston wants. They need another big play weapon. Obviously, ever since Hopkins is gone, ever since Will Fuller has, he was meant to be a big play that hasn't worked out. He's now gone. Brandon Cooks is okay, but it's just still not everything they want at the wide receiver position. Tolbert can come in and be that big play guy right away. I really like this pick here for Houston.
Yeah, and South Alabama was one of only 2 teams this past season to beat Coastal Carolina, a team that I'm very familiar with. And the receiving game was a big part of that because Coastal has a very stout defense, so to speak. So if he could produce against a defense like that went only 2 losses on the season that year, that's a pretty big deal. So I like, again, we're going back to production. I like a great producing player in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that moves us into their second pick in the 3rd round. They go running back Dameon Pierce out of the University of Florida. Pierce is one of the more interesting prospects in the NFL draft. He literally was not tackleable. Like his film is unbelievable. He breaks like 3 or 4 tackles every play. Looks like Derrick Henry out there, the way he just runs through people in the SEC in the games he played. But Florida just never used him. I think he averaged a touchdown every 6 or 7 carries, but he only had a handful of games with more than 10 carries. Because of that, he kind of drops late in the 3rd round. But guess what? He comes in, can split time with Rex Burkhead if need be, and give them a powerful running back combination that Houston dreadfully is missing. Houston is one of the worst teams in the NFL running the ball last year. Pierce can come in and give him another attitude guy, another physical hard runner who never quits, fights for extra yardage, all that kind of things to kind of turn the tide there in Houston and really upgrade that running attack.
Yeah, one of the best eras in Houston Texans football was when Arian Foster graced the field. A true one-cut back. He could do it all. This is a little bit different fit, but Houston has been missing a top-tier running back in the fold. So I love this pick here. I love the, this might be a slide. This might be a steal for the draft just because he wasn't utilized. Not that he didn't produce. He produced every time he touched the ball. He just wasn't given the ball that much. So I love this pick here. And I think all of these picks combined show that the new regime in Houston is really trying to turn this team around. And I like all of the selections they've made.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to recap what they went through with 2 first-round picks, they start with Ikem Ekwonu and George Karlaftis to upgrade their offensive and defensive lines. In the 2nd round, they get a middle linebacker in Chad Muma to fit into Lovie Smith's cover 2 defense. In the 3rd round, they get big play wide receiver Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama and round it out with a physical, hard-to-tackle running back Dameon Pierce from Florida.